So one of the things I found so interesting about this was that you guys had, it was from nonfiction.
Correct.
So you see a lot of like, based on a book. So this is a nonfiction story. So can you talk a little bit about how you found the material and what interests you about this nonfiction story to make this film?
We found the book because the producer found it. We were interested because of the money.
That's so not true.
It was a really cool idea. I really like the idea of a psychological
mean,
heavy. A heavy doesn't touch you to hurt
It was
you.
a
But
cool
I'll let him
thing,
keep with this.
right? It was a cool thing, but he said, I have this cool thing that's based on a true story. And, sometimes based on a true story means like a guy was alive once. And he had some terrible shit happen.
No, the based on the
And
true
so
story.
we said, great, okay, we can work with that. And then the Bye Bye Man has a much deeper backstory, the real Bye Bye Man, that unfortunately didn't make it into the picture, but the hallucinatory aspect of it, and the three roommates, the two.
There was a story, and there were people who were affected by, I don't know what. And it's in a book called The Bridge. It's in a chapter.
It's called now The Bye Bye Man.
Right, they changed
because
the
of the movie
title.
tie-in. But it was originally,
It's a real book. I mean, it's not. You're not wrong.
we don't know.
No, I know what it's called. It's
glad
called
I'm
The
not
Bridge-
wrong.
It's called the President's Vampire.
I
and
think
the-
it was in the credits.
It's
Anybody
the
watch
President's
credits?
Vampire. No, it's called The President's
Bridge to
Vampire.
Body Island,
And
thank
the title of the story about the Body Island is called The Bridge to Body Island because it happened in Wisconsin, and there's an island where there was a factory and a lot of men who died would get floated down the river, and that was near where the three grad students lived, and this happened, and they did summon the Bye Bye Man via a Ouija board, which was a thing we couldn't do because of Ouija.
Rights to the Ouija
So
board.
we changed it. But it did happen to them. Whether or not they're real, I'm not sure. But it's in this book that purports to be nonfiction. So you're not wrong. He's glossing over it, but it's a book.
I'm not glossing over it. I'm dealing with the fact that
Right. Okay. we took it and we expanded on it a little bit.
All right, we'll move on. Okay, so how did this get made? Like, I know that it was a little bit of a process. So it started in one place and went somewhere else. You guys talk about that a little bit?
Sure. Well, first, we worked on it for 3-4 years. I mean, every movie has a long trajectory, and you have to be patient. And sometimes they don't get made, and you pull them back out, and they do. And it's kind of a strange process. But this one was 3 or 4 years of writing and development with Trevor Macy, who's a great producer, a great horror producer. And the first...
So he also produced The Strangers. He produced he produced Oculus and the Ouija movie, and he's got Gerald's Game coming out on Netflix.
He's a great producer.
Hush on Netflix.
Old friend
He's
of
produced
ours.
a lot of movies.
I can say to all the women out there, have great friends, because the producer and the financer are both friends of mine. And why do women direct every 10 years? It's because there's an unconscious bias, and people don't like to hire women. They just don't, not for directing. We'll talk about that more. But back to what you were saying, or asking about, was what?
How it got made.
Okay. So I ended up, I'm blocking this story because it was horrible.
Well, this is a good story, though.
We first were doing it with the Weinsteins, and Bob
You guys
Weinstein.
know who the Weinsteins are?
Yeah. And we were doing it with Bob Weinstein, and can I move and do something? Okay. So this is what happens when you first meet Bob Weinstein. He shakes your hand. This is what he does. He glides it over your hand like that. See, he does that. He doesn't like shake your hand. And he said he saw Jonathan and I. Trevor was on the phone. There were two executives in the room and him. And he said, with no irony whatsoever, I think I need to speak to your husband because I'm more comfortable to talk to him.
He says, I know you're going to hate this, but I'm actually more comfortable talking to your husband.
And he spent the whole meeting talking to Penner and not me, even though they had announced that I was the director and they're making the movie. So that was a bad first meeting.
Do we have like a vomit bucket? Please?
And he also said, you don't know what you don't know. And I said, well, I don't know who killed John F. Kennedy, so I do know things I don't know. And he said, so I want you to shoot a sizzle. So I picked the two hardest things. I did a version of that basement scene, which is tropey, so how do you do that well? And I picked from Elliot entering to the reveal of Sasha being the person he's killed. And I shot that. And I shot it once before we even did this feature. And it turned out really well. And then he still didn't really want me to direct the movie. But luckily, it was only an option that they had on it. So it kind of got pulled away from that company to LAMF, which is a great company that Jeffrey Soros and a guy named Simon Horstman, who's an English guy, run. And we gave them the script. It was really Penner's idea to give it to them. And they said, yeah, we'd love to do this. And they stepped in and it got moved away from them. And then we set up to shoot in Ohio, which I can talk more about if you're interested. And then we brought it into STX the summer before we were financed. So we were fully financed. We walked into STX with it, and they jumped on, and they split the 50-50 on the budget. So it's an $8 million budget. They're in for $4 million. ALMF is in for $4 million, and then we got $1.5 million back from Ohio. So it was about $6.5 million overall aggregate for them to spend, 3 something. And so it was a kind of a really, rockin' small budget. They liked that. And we did it with STX, and then we shot it in the fall of that year, which was, 2015.
That's great. That's great. So in, you kind of brought it up, so I think we need to jump into it. But this idea of you being not only a female filmmaker, which is a huge minority, but especially in this genre.
Yeah, genre and features in general.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, I know Penner has this sort of encyclopedic knowledge of horror film, something you guys
He
both
wrote
love.
the book, as you say.
Wrote the book.
He wrote
an
book
actual
that's
book. It's beautiful.
It's a great book. It's a Taschen book. But
Yeah, the Taschen horror cinema book. Please buy it.
It's really a great book.
It's actually a good book.
Yeah.
I like it. It's good.
And I wrote it with a guy named Steven Schneider, who is a producer of the Paranormal Activity movies, and he works with M. Night Shyamalan now. And
He
and
was
he
on
and I
Split.
would have dueling encyclopedic knowledges, and wrote a pretty cool book.
So if you
But
want to
enough
try
about me.
later to stump Penner, I'd like you to see you guys do it. It'd
Yeah,
be
let's
fun.
go. Let's stump Penner.
Yeah. So it looks like a game show, Stump Penner.
Yeah, we
horror.
could do
should
that, and you
totally
could be
do that.
you could be the host.
I love
like
it. We'll do it. So
You were asking me.
Yes,
about-
in terms of being a female filmmaker in this genre, which is very underrepresented for female filmmakers.
Well, I don't think women have credibility in genre, science fiction, fantasy. I'll glom them together because those are things I love. Thrillers even can be kind of a little offshoot. But I do think that I have my own unconscious bias. And when I'm thinking of a director of photography, and I'm sorry to all the women in the audience who are DPs, I have my same bias where I think of men. So I understand exactly what happens when people want to hire a director. They'll love you, they'll meet you, they'll make you, it'll be down to 2 people, and there'll just be something in their gut that makes them hire a guy. So it's just a disadvantage that needs to be overcome, and I hope there's a great movement of women who are asking about trying to get it to be 50-50 by 2020. I don't think that will happen, but let's push for it. Why is it beyond that? I think in genre in particular, that's considered a masculine subject.
I would venture another reason. And I think the reason that Weinstein, who's a psychopath, was more comfortable talking to me. And I think that the reason that more guys are hired more often, certainly for genre, is, and this has just come to me, for that encyclopedic reason, that
Right,
there are
that-
fewer women, young, old, whatever, who are movie nerds. And the guys who do the hiring are often movie nerds, right? And so somehow there's a walk the walk, talk the talk kind of bullshit thing that happens that it's if you're not, even if you are the, what you guys called the other night, fantasy pixie girl, what's it like, the Pixie Dream Girl,
Thank you,
who
Jennifer.
knows every movie and loved Star Wars and all that, maybe that young woman or older woman would walk that walk and talk that talk of being able to talk just a depth of
But-
bullshit, trivial bullshit
But I do-
that is appealing.
I don't agree with you.
Okay, I'm saying this is the language of you know what, I see myself in that person. The
Okay,
people doing the hiring
I'll
say
glom
that.
on that. I think that maybe I don't know every actor that plays every part like he does, but I've watched almost, I would say 90% of what you've watched. So I do know all the
Except
movies.
the dirty movies.
Well, there's that. Because I am not into porn. Sorry. Not that we need to go there, Wen. I'm sorry, Wen.
We can.
But I do think that
that's what's just come to me. Why? Why would 96% of the movies be directed by guys? It doesn't make a fucking whit of sense. And so it's got to be some, it doesn't.
Right?
It doesn't make any sense, right? So it's not a thing, it's not some calculatable thing. It comes down to some kind of emotional bullshit and I'm sorry, maybe it's totally wrong, this notion of walking the walk and talking the talk, of I see myself in you.
Okay,
Wait, I'm sorry, let me finish. Why does Spielberg hire Colin Trevorrow, off of...
this is my point I want to make.
So make it in a second.
Okay.
Why off of, what was that movie? You guys have the poster outside, that's what reminds me. It's not batteries not included, safety not guaranteed.
Yes.
Right? Guy made a movie for less than $1 million. Okay, nobody saw it except other guys in a room, and somehow they said, that was the kind of movie that I made or wanted to make when I was your age. Bring the kid in.
Okay, you finish your point.
And then he says, talks that bullshit. That Spielberg says, yeah, you're the guy I want to direct the next Jurassic
World.
Park.
And then the third Star Wars movie.
But that has to do with mentoring. And there are not a lot of mentors for women. And when mentoring happens, it's an identification thing. I want to mentor someone who I connect with, who I see myself as. So it's the young version of myself. That's what he's talking about. And so, yes, people won't look at me who are a guy and say, oh, that's the young me. It just will never happen. And that's a little bit of a hiring, grooming process. And I don't use grooming in a yucky way, in that way that a lot of us associate it, but in a good way that they take someone and they say, oh, that's my young self, I'm gonna help that person. Right. And no woman, because most of the women aren't, doing that mentoring, it's mostly men who are mentoring. I mean, I missed out on a project recently at Lionsgate, and it's not gonna get made, but a young guy who had never directed a movie got it. And it was really because he walked in with someone else who was his mentor, who was a big director, and they just wanted that feeling. They like that, and they like anyway. So yes, you're right.
Yeah, so
I don't think it's having an encyclopedic knowledge, but it's the mentoring, the identification.
Yeah, so as a prescriptive, I'm not saying women become more manly or become bigger nerds or something like that. I don't have the answer. I'm just saying that's why Weinstein wanted to talk to me, because I'm a New York Jewish guy who could talk about monster movies in a way that he identified, as opposed to, oh, you are a New York Jewish woman, and the only person that I know is a New York Jewish woman is either my wife or my mother, and that's fucking freaking me out. I mean, that's honestly, no, I'm sure that's what happened.
But it was so weird that he was like, I'm not going to talk to you, and he literally did.
It was bizarre as hell.
I had to insert myself into, anyway, it doesn't matter. They didn't make the movie. They regret it.
This is something to be cognizant of, I think.
I agree.
As a man, who you're looking at, and as a woman, who you're looking at, who you're sitting across from the table, because there's only one director on them, or whatever the job is that you guys are looking for, right? I mean, I'm assuming everyone in this room, unless you just saw the poster outside, Bye Bye Man is free. Okay, great, I'll watch that on a Friday night. More power to you, thank you. The chances are that you are interested in a career, or at least a vocation in the communicative arts. So if, moving forward, I'm asking you to be cognizant of who you're sitting across from. Do not have to look and sound and talk like you. Is their passion for the project, or for whatever it is that you might be hiring them for, the most genuine, and their vision the most right on, and if you're sitting there pitching yourself as somebody to get a job, understand that the person you're talking to has conscious and unconscious bias. You can't dance around it Just understand it and empathize with them.
And maybe point it out, and you can maybe
No, don't point it out.
pull
No, don't say you're biased. That's why you're not going to hire me. Just say.
I don't think you're right, Henry, because
Okay.
I really think, like at Fox on that movie, I think I should have said, you're going to hire a guy, because in the end, it's going to be between me and that guy, and you're going to just have this weird urge. Don't follow
Stacy's
it.
talking about this is a fascinating story. You want to hear it?
Yes.
Okay.
We want to hear it.
Easy, simple story. They're remaking, or they're doing a new version of The Fly.
I'm
The
not sure
Fly,
you should tell
right?
this whole story, but-
If you haven't seen The Fly by David Cronenberg, see it. One of the all-time great movies, certainly one of the best horror movies. It's a brilliant movie. And they're finally going to remake it. Stacy came in, and I came in with her, with a, we thought, pretty fucking great pitch, honestly. A feminist female fly, right? Female
Who's
scientist.
stronger, smarter, and can have sex with 50 guys and wear them out.
Dealing with misogyny. It was a great, it would have been, may still someday be a great movie, okay? Non-racial casting could easily have been any woman could play this part.
I wanted it to be African American.
And we actually said, let's use an African-American woman, one of the girls from Hidden Figures, because it's the Chernin company's doing it, blah, blah, blah. Okay. The guy who got the job is a young guy, certainly younger than us, maybe not much older than some of the people in the room. African-American kid. We don't know him. A kid to us. He's probably in his 20s. He just made a movie that came out last weekend called Slight, which I have not seen. I don't know if any of you saw. It was considered a disappointment. Now, financially, which is worth whatever it's worth. But, and here's the biggest but, he has worked with Blumhouse, right? And right now, I mean, literally today, if you've gotten the Blumhouse imprimatur, then you're the guy for us.
And they grabbed him.
Because if Blumhouse said,
And I said
you're
no
good
to a
enough for
Blumhouse
us and we
movie-
want to
to
make a
Blumhouse
movie with
movies.
you,
It's true.
then
I did.
we know you've got the shit. And I'm sure his take was fantastic.
I'm sure it was good.
I'm sure it was.
But I do think that there's this thing, unconscious bias, and how do we rectify it? I don't know exactly when.
So what do you guys think? I mean, we're kind of getting at it a little bit. This idea of mentorship. It's sort of this.
It's this
It's
weird-
a cyclical thing. If we get more women directors, we have more mentors. We
and
have
composers and DPs,
Yes.
because they're dying on the
You
vine.
just have to do the work. This is a
No,
we were
I
talking about, no,
disagree.
hold
You
on.
have to go against your inner gut of feeling that your comfort zone. You have to go outside your comfort zone and hire someone that maybe you're
that's
not
what I mean.
comfortable to hire.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
For sure, but that's on them. But that's what they have to do. I'm talking about what you can do. What
just have a lot of
we
work.
can do is you do the work anyway. You have to, there's the saying, if you haven't seen the movie, it's a good, I'm giving all the recommendations of good movies. Field of Dreams, right? If you build it, they will come. Stacy and I created our career. We made a short film.
And we should talk more about that, because you guys are making a lot of short films, and we have
Right?
info.
We made a short film, and we really made a short film. We had Jason Alexander was in it. A guy named Ed Asner, who you'd know if you saw, was in it. I was in it. And
I was about to
we
say
had
that.
like Mark Mothersbaugh from Devo do the music. We had an Oscar-winning editor. Now we're in LA, and we had access to these people.
His name is
but
Tom
we
Noble.
really went to the mat and made this movie.
You met Tom.
And had an Oscar nomination, which is fantastic. Went to the Academy Awards, didn't win, them. And yet that launched our careers, because like we could say, yeah, we've been nominated for an Academy Award, and people wanted to work with us because we were going to make movies whether they helped us or not. And so what I'm getting to is you must do the work yourself. You have to be able to go like that and say, I will make the movie anyway. Okay, I'm making movies. Do you want a piece of what I'm doing? Then, because most people are not creative. They're not. They don't want to be creative. It's too hard to do what we do. It is, let me finish, I'm sorry. It is really.
This is very long, though, isn't it?
No, it's not. I'm not being boring. It is, I'm not, right? It is very, very hard to put your ass in the chair and write it and make the money and make the movie. But once you've made it without them, then they have to say, oh my God, Colin Trevorrow, you're the guy. I want what you've got. Then they will come to you. And if they don't, who cares? Because you're doing what you
'Cause you're
want to
still
do
doing it.
anyway. If all you want to do is make movies, make your movies. And if they come to you and you go to LA or to New York or wherever, great. And if they don't come to you and you stay in Chicago and you just make movies, then you're happy. You know what I mean? Just make your movies, and if they come to you, fantastic. If not, it's worse if they do, honestly, because then you got to get involved with them because they're crazy people, you know. So that's how I would deal with this bias: is who cares? F 'em. Make your movies together.
Ish.
No, it's I don't know.
I love it. By the way, Colin was one of our VAS guests.
Good,
There
good.
you
More
go.
power
Yeah.
to him. The kid's amazing.
Yeah, that's great. So speaking of movies that you wanted to make, what kind of a film were you setting out to make with Bye Bye Man? I mean, in knowing the history of horror, I mean, was it, there's certainly like, the jump scare moments, but there's also the psychological element. So what were you setting out to do? Like, what was interesting to you about this project?
What was very interesting to me was that he could affect you without touching you, without having a knife or a hatchet. He didn't have to chase you. He didn't have to come out and jump at you. He could get in your head, and that psychologically he could affect your own weaknesses. And I thought that was really interesting because he could work on anyone in a different way, and he could really profoundly hurt you and make you hallucinate, and then you would do terrible things that you wouldn't really even know you were doing, and have victory. He has a lot of pain, and there's a large backstory that, when you make an independent movie, you have a lot of control of it from beginning to end. When you do a movie with a wide release in a big company like that, you don't. And you come into a meeting and they'll say to you, I want you to cut this, 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 this. We'll do a little additional photography. No one calls a reshoot anymore. It's now only additional photography, so it's not supposed to be negative. And then you take that movie and you test it. And if you get in the 70s, they feel like they had a victory. So you're like, okay, I still would like to put this back, but you can't. So I think in the end, what you guys saw was 85% what I really wanted to be in the movie. But the PG-13 is more like 70%, but they did release the movie really well. They did work so hard for us. They did kill themselves. They did spend a lot of money. So it's a funny dance you do with a distributor, and it's a different job than directing an independent movie, where they watch it in a theater with people at a festival and they pick it up. They rarely make changes after that. When you're doing a studio movie, it's a process that is less a signature. I'm not signing my work in the same way. But what did I want to do? I wanted to make something very scary and original and psychologically devastating.
Connor?
What did I want to do? I wanted to make people really scared and laugh.
Yeah, there's humor.
We had some fights with Trevor. I don't know, what did you guys? It's unfair to ask you. What did you think of the movie? Because you could say, it's not. But I believe, and I think Stacy believes too, that there's no reason not to be entertaining.
We wanted to be fun.
Right? To have some laughs in a movie, to relieve the tension, to have some intelligence in the movie, and not just, Trevor was always like, you put your foot on their neck and you never take it off. And I'm like, that sounds really uncomfortable. I don't want to spend 2 hours or ask people to spend 2 hours with my foot on their neck. So I don't know, what do you think? Was the humor helpful and enjoyable? Did you laugh at all? Yeah? Okay, so, what? It was funny, right? How about the guy in the garden shop? The bald guy with the Mr. Daisy? He was okay. He was all right? Sucked? I'd vote you off the island, says Madison.
Nice.
Oh,
That was
she shoots, she
good.
scores.
That was good.
Thank you, Madison.
That's good.
Gets a B in this class.
Some of you guys may know this, but Penner has been on Survivor 3 times. So if you guys are any Survivor fans out there? Nobody is a
no.
Survivor fan? No one? Come on.
I think I see one hand.
We
One.
can't see you. We can only hear you.
It's all right. I don't, we didn't show Survivor. It wasn't a
Right.
Survivor night.
Yes.
I've also got 2 kids. How many people like kids? We're not talking about that. Who cares?
That are in the movie, by the way. Both
Yeah,
kids.
Ava was our daughter, gets shot with a shotgun. She throws a book very effectively and then gets shot.
And she did a good stunt.
good, right?
And
was
our
good.
son played beer pong, which
Our
is a
son
high
played
art.
beer pong for one shot.
That's great. That's great.
And Wendy knows them both. So
They're wonderful people. So you talked a little bit about how the Bye Bye Man lore was not in the film that you really wanted to have in there. So was it originally in the script and it got cut, or did you shoot it and it got removed?
I shot it. It was in the cut. It was in the Faye Dunaway scene, and it was in a couple effect shots. Basically, the Bye Bye Man takes the eyes and the tongues of his victims and puts them into the Gloomsinger, which is the familiar, the dog. And there's a shot that didn't end up in the movie that those pieces of the body get absorbed into. So the pain of the victims is becomes manifest in him, and that's what he's made up of.
He's the eyes and the voice of the Bye Bye.
Of the Bye Man. But
That got cut out.
but the original story that comes from the nonfiction is about a young kid who is an orphan, who is albino and African American, which I thought was really interesting. They didn't want to touch that. And people thought he was a uppity, so they murdered him. It's a little bit of a lynching, which I think is interesting too. And they put him on a train to hide the body.
Burned his body and put it on.
And they made him kill his dog, and they threw them both on the train. And the train is supposed to be a way that they cover up the crime because it takes him far away, and no one knows where the murder happened. The coins, they used hot coins, they put in his eyes to burn his eyes. So all these things that were in the DNA of the story, which I thought were really important. But, like I said, it's, you're getting a 200 screen release, there's a different process at the end. And they weren't comfortable with all that stuff. They thought we should save it. We should withhold it. We thought maybe it made him sympathetic. I think how I handled it wasn't like that, but I liked that stuff. I thought it was interesting, and I thought it gave the movie depth. And some of it I'm going to be posting on YouTube so people can see it, because those shots are now pulled, and I'd love them to be out there. And I'm sorry they didn't make it into the movie, but unfortunately, if I had said, no, I want to keep it how I want, they would have hired someone else to do it. That's how it works.
Mm-hmm. So a little bit about the casting of the film. Can you guys talk about how you did the casting?
Well, what's interesting about the casting was that when we got involved with STX, they asked for some big stars, because that's a little bit of a mandate of that company. They had the circle with, Tom Hanks and
Emma Watson.
Emma Watson this weekend. Not Emma Watson.
Emma Watson, I think.
Is it Emma Watson? Oh, right. Sorry. It's called The Circle, too, which I think is a book that did pretty well. Did it? So they asked us to spend some money, so we got, probably not terribly expensively, we got Faye Dunaway and we got Carrie-Anne Moss. And those were two people that probably wouldn't have ended up in the movie per se, except that STX wanted a couple of star names. So, but the other part of the casting was done with Andy McCarthy, who's a great casting director. I think one of the unsung heroes of most movies there's a handful of amazing casting directors in LA. I've worked with Deb Zane, Deb Aquila, Andy McCarthy. They're brilliant. And Andy did an amazing job on this and found a lot of, the parts. At the last second, we found Jenna Cannell, who has not, and Cressida Bonas have not been in a lot of movies.
The two main
girls. And Lucy and Lavascount was amazing. So those were casting processes where people would put themselves on, they would shoot themselves and email it in. There was a lot of in-room auditioning. But the offer only was to Carrie-Anne Moss was, she read the script, she got an offer, and Faye Dunaway was done that way too. Cleo King probably didn't read because I'd worked with her before.
I love Cleo King.
Yeah,
she plays the librarian. She's just
great.
She's the best,
she's
right?
the best.
I'd worked with her before, so I really like her, and I may be doing another movie with her. She wrote a great movie for herself that we may do together in Boston this fall. But so some of them were offers, but not like big money offers, and Carrie-Anne Moss was brought in really as a STX request, and so was Faye Dunaway. Although Faye Dunaway, when they started to ask us to do that, we first offered it. We asked Jenna Rollins to do it. We asked Mia Farrow. We had a couple of the people in mind, and then we got her. But
which I think is a great segue into asking you, Stacy, about directing some of these huge high-profile actors. I mean, I think that a lot of our students have a lot of anxiety about directing any actors. I mean, working with real actors, it's hard, really developing that relationship, that language with them. And you've worked with some huge actors and also some big personalities like Snoop Dogg. So what is it like like how is your approach different with some of these bigger names or bigger personalities?
What's interesting is I'm about to do a TV show, and I've never directed television before, but I'm going to do something called Freakish, which is on Hulu. And some of the actors on that show are called influencers, which means they're not actors, they're not trained. They're famous for being YouTube stars, versus you get an Ed Asner or a Jacqueline Bisset or Bill Paxton or, I don't know, Bye Bye Man had a lot of big stars. So there's different ways of...
Last Supper had big
And Last Supper, but also Bye Bye Man, with Faye and Carrie Moss. That's what I was saying. Thank you. It's okay, he can correct me anytime he wants. It's sort of a funny thing. I think there's a couple things. One is, I think every actor wants a mother or a father. And that's going to sound strange, but they want someone who's very, very attentive and very focused on them, or they want someone who's going to give them approval. That's more the father idea. And you have to figure out which one they are. If you've rehearsed with them and you can find out how they like to roll, for instance, Carrie Moss doesn't like you to call cut. She likes to do a bunch of takes in a row. So she gave me that clue because I hadn't rehearsed with her. But you have to be very attentive on the first scene you're doing with any actor. You have to really see, do they want me to give them a lot of adjustments? Do they want me to hang back while they do 3-4 takes? Get a feel for them. Go hang out with them in the makeup trailer. Be chatty. Get a lay of the land. Find out what they did over the weekend so they feel comfortable with you. They're going to even look at you. Then when they're calm enough, big stars in particular want that too. Find out what their little jinky things are rolling through takes and things like that. Then hang back and see. They're going to look up at the monitor. That's when they want some help. You come over, you pull them aside, give them a couple notes. TV and film are different because in TV you're stepping in and an actor might have been playing a character for 3-4 years. So they have a much more of a protection of that character. But on a movie, the director's the one who's telling the actors what to do. So what do they need? What are their style? What are the things that they like? Have you rehearsed with them? I urge everyone to rehearse as much as they can. It's so invaluable. It helps you so much. And then there's just little tricky things. And I've taken a lot of acting classes, and I recommend every director in here takes acting and takes it seriously and puts up scenes and really finds out the inside of that. And then you can be on the outside of it. So if you've done acting, if you can calm an actor down, especially a movie star down, if you've watched a lot of their work, the late, great Bill Paxton, and may he rest in peace, he was so amazing on Last Supper. He came in and he was doing really bad takes on purpose because he wanted to see if I could see if he was bad. And when I went over and gave him a kind of like adjustment, he was so happy. And he just said, I got it. And then he was fucking brilliant. And it was really just a test. Could I see that he was doing bad work? Sometimes they'll throw you that, which is weird. There's always little kind of jinky things that they'll do. But if you rehearse, if you've done a lot of acting yourself, if you can find out if they need a mother or a father, and if you can really make them feel good about the choice they made and say, okay, we have that, now let's get this too, because maybe I'll have some choices.
Great, that's fantastic. So I want to jump around a little bit to kind of how you guys got started. Penner brought up the short, and I know that a lot of our students are making shorts. So, I think that it's I think that there's some people say, short film, what's the point of it? Where can it, what can it get me? You guys have a very specific answer to that. So can you talk a little bit about the short that you made? I mean, they made this incredible short, and I just watched it again. It's
fun, right?
Such a good short.
We shot that in 2 days, right?
It's wonderful, and it's something that
you could forward that link to anyone who wants it.
I'd love to. I mean, as a professor, it's something that we talk about all the time, something simple. It's basically 3 actors with 2 other smaller parts on a park bench, and it's a conversation. It's not special effects. It's not. I mean, it's a very containable short that relies very much on its wit, its humor, the performance. These are all things that, again, that you're showcasing as filmmakers, and I think that this is so important. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. I mean, and then maybe after that we can talk about the business of shorts and how to get yourself into, regular status of Academy and Student Academy Awards. there's a way to do that stuff too, which we can talk about.
Yeah, so Madison, we're going to ignore your cues for a little while, just so you know. We're going to go a little longer, so we're good. Yeah. Okay, great. Go. I'm in charge. I can do that.
We got a IRS, return, a tax return that we weren't expecting to get. And so we had like a little bit of money that we weren't expecting to get, and we decided to make this short. And Penner was in it with Jason Alexander, who's married to my cousin, so that was a lucky draw that I had access to a great actor. And another friend of mine knew Ed Asner and asked him to do this, and that was a very funny thing.
Who is wonderful in this film.
Great.
You know Ed Asner? You ever see the Mary Tyler Moore Show?
He's wonderful, and he was president of SAG for a while, so he's this radical kind of socialist kind of guy. So having him be the head of the Longshoremen's Union, which is what he is in the movie, was just ironic. And so we just said, okay, we're going to just make this thing and make it in a fantasy way. And that's the opposite of working with a studio, what I was talking about. I have this fully realized thing. I shot it on Plus Sex, which is this beautiful, slow black and white film. I, had these great actors, and Mark Mothersbaugh did the music, and Tom Noble, who's an amazing editor, cut it. And then we got nominated, and we got into Sundance, and it basically launched my career. So anyone who says doing a short film is a waste of time is a moron, because it's the best thing to do. You figure out, you learn your craft.
Making a bad short film is a waste of time.
But you learn your craft, and you really learn how to do it, and you're telling, some stories shouldn't be long. Some stories are 8 minutes. Some stories are 17 minutes, I think. But that got me Last Supper and really helped. But really, for all of you, I think there's a film company and a distribution company, and they own theaters called Laemmle in Los Angeles, and they will screen your movies if you call them and pay them. And then you have qualify for Academy consideration. Most people don't know that, and they're so wonderful. So you may not have an audience, but they might show it at 2 a.m, but who cares? So just find out, just get online and call them and say, I have something I want for consideration. It's a short doc, it's a short animation, it's a short film, live action, and they will show it, and then you qualify. And that's a huge...
So can you talk a little bit about that? I mean, because I think that not a lot of our students know how that process works. So if you get the qualification, which, some of them know if you win certain festivals that have been deemed by the Academy as Academy festivals, that if you win certain categories, that automatically qualifies you, or if you screen for a certain number of days in a paid theater.
That's what I'm talking about.
Once you qualify, then what happens after that?
Yeah, but we can certainly talk about the Academy and Academy Award qualification, but
Jonathan's on the executive committee of the short film branch. Just mentioning that. I'm not. I don't like listening to lots of people talk for a long around a point. Anyway, sorry.
No, look, being nominated for an Academy Award is a dream come true, would be amazing. You will make your film, and most short films do not have that happen. Not for want of quality or effort. It's just insanely...
but it's so worth it.
Of course, and the point is that, you will make your shorts, you will take your shots, you will submit them to the Academy, you'll submit them to every festival, and you will put them online and try to get all the people that you can see them to see them. That's how most people watch most things now, is, on one of their devices. And so, you will, if you've put the time and the effort and the money into making whatever it is that you're going to make, you will then hopefully back it up with the effort to get as many people to see it in as many mediums or on as many platforms as you can. And only one of them is Academy consideration. The Academy website is easily accessed and will have all the rules, stipulations, and regulations that you would need to find out about. And they are they're more than happy to take your film if you qualify. They will then be seen by a group of Academy members, and then there's a whole process that works you up to the nomination situation. Most short films now that get nominated are made in foreign countries, and often they are student films because those kids are up to 30 years old. They are often professionals, subsidized, working in association with the universities and the governments in in these countries, and short filmmaking is much more encouraged than it is here. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
And do those people qualify for the Student Academy Awards?
They can. Your films would be qualified for Student Academy Award consideration. I'm also on that committee, which just means that, again, a lot of Academy members watch a lot of short films and make their choices. I am often, in fact, always, in disagreement with the films that get picked. But, Stacy and I are still considered kids at the Academy, where the average age is over 60, and the taste is old.
Great.
That's just the truth.
So I want to do one more topic, and then we'll open up to questions.
Sure.
I want to talk to you guys a little bit about both making a living as a writer, because that's, it's great that you've made this film, but you guys have spent a lot of time writing, and that's really where a lot of your career has been. And then also working as a team. I think we've kind of seen firsthand how they are, what their dynamic is. It's been like
real.
this ever since I've known them. It's great. It's never changed. But what that's like working as both a partnership and a married couple as well. But if you could talk a little bit about that, that'd be great.
Well, we've been married for over 25 years. We've worked together for 25 years. We do not work together exclusively, but most of the projects that we work on are together. Certainly, all the feature films that we've made, we've worked on together. That Stacy has directed. We have written or sold 15 or 20 pilot scripts to almost every studio or network. We have sold feature scripts to many of the studios and independents. So, that's fun, right? And hard. It is hard when both of you are in the business, when you're both artists. We've met a lot of folks here and everywhere who, it's hard for a couple. Often there's one person that has a real job in whatever real profession they have, and then there's the person who's in the movie or the TV business or the acting business, because it's a hard gig, right?
And I think what you were trying to get at, which I'd love to elaborate on, is that you're not going to be in production all the time. You're not going to be directing all the time. And writing is a great way to be in the business and subsidize your own movies and get you to be able to direct movies because you write stuff and there's a property you control. It's the single best way to make a feature is to be the person who wrote the script. We all have that experience where it's between me and someone else, but it's not on a script I wrote. So if you generate your own stuff, you can direct more and you can pay your bills, and it's really fun. And we're working on right now a very exciting property where we're working on King Kong for television. We're writing a King Kong television show, and that's a really fun thing. It's not, I don't want to discount it. It's probably not, for me, the most fun thing is being in production, but certainly writing television is and writing movies is a wonderful way to make a living. There's no question.
Great. All right, guys, I'm going to open up to some questions. We have a microphone right there that's got a lovely light on it. If you guys want to come up and around.
We'll hear you.
I'm make them go to the mic because then they're on camera.
Oh, gosh.
So if you guys could line up behind the mic, that'd be great. Don't be shy. Don't be shy.
It's a very
I
short
see people
line.
coming up. They're coming up. So while they're coming up to the mic, so is Kong the next project? What is next for you guys?
We're working with a company called Celestial on a remake of a 1980s horror movie called The Hex, which was done by the Shaw Brothers. I don't know if any of you have seen it. We're doing an interpolation of it or interpretation of it. Working on that as a feature. That's something I'm going to be directing. We're working on Kong. Jonathan sold with another pilot a movie called Tita, and he's also working on a short film and animation project. And then I think there's probably 4 projects I'm supervising as a director that are not things we're writing, other writers. A mermaid project with a producer named J. Todd Harris, which is a dark mermaid project, a wonderful script called Ruben's-esque about a nasty supermodel and her Zoftic assistant who get zapped back in time, and their roles reverse because, of course, now the Zoftic one is beautiful and the skinny one is not. I love that idea. Anyway, a bunch of projects like that, which hopefully haven't gotten financing yet, but hopefully will.
Great, great.
But no one's at the mic.
Somebody was at
There's
the mic.
someone
Oh,
there.
now they're back.
They're there in the dark, in the shadows.
Oh, great.
I'm here.
Oh, hi.
Hi.
Oh, you came out of the
Thank you
shadows.
for dressing so nicely. To be
Thank you. I was just in the mood. My name is Ernest Paul Jones. I'm a recent graduate in communications and media art at Chicago State University, and I was invited here by some of the veterans who had a special event, and they came over for your viewing. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you for coming.
Sure. I listened to you intently because your depth of knowledge and information is very rare for us here at Chicago, or at least at Chicago State. But nonetheless, I was wondering if you had a little bit more depth that can be applied to the experience as an actor. I've acted in a few things. I have also done a lot of radio announcing and broadcasting, as well as made commercials, such commercials as Sprite, been in the Super Bowl and things like that.
Oh.
And I wanted to know if you had any suggestions or tips that might not take you out of your realm of directing that might be applicable to some of the acting.
Jonathan was an actor for a long time, so I think that's
I've seen his work. I've
Oh,
seen
you
his
have?
work.
Oh.
As a matter of fact, I've
sorry.
seen him on Survivors too.
Thank you. Well, I would be happy, or we would be happy to give you any insight we can. Can I ask even more specifically how can we help you? What kind of insight can we give you?
Well, the experience that I've had has been picked as the mature person in the group to
Sure.
perform. Just last week, I was playing the part of Uncle Phil from Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Right.
And so those are the things I get into, and I want to go a little bit beyond. I'd like to do some action, but minimal action type films. But I find that words are my friend, and I'm being able to apply them to make my character ring and resonate in some spaces where you're giving me a small spot, I usually grow pretty big.
Sure.
So how can I use that experience to, increase my repertoire?
Well, can I jump
Yes.
in? I would do what I recommend to everybody, which is to make it, to film it. You know, we now live in this extraordinarily democratized time where anybody with a camera, with a phone,
Yes.
can create and upload it. You know, how many other people see it, I don't know. But you, as a creative person, can direct yourself or ask any one of these people in the room to direct you. You could write yourself. I certainly, as an actor, I started as an actor and started writing because nobody else was writing for me, you know. And certainly there's stories like Sylvester Stallone writing Rocky for himself, Matt Damon and Ben Affleck writing Good Will Hunting for themselves, et cetera, et cetera. I took that to heart and actually turned out to be more of a writer ultimately than an actor, at least at this point in my life. So, you know, I would write myself a great part or take a part that's already written that you've always wanted to play and start to film it. Ask somebody to make it with you. And then if you build it, they will come and they'll say, damn, look at this guy. He's fantastic.
He's awesome, exactly.
You know.
I like what you just said, and
Good.
it's interesting
That's
that
smart.
It's interesting that you say write yourself in. I've written myself into commercials, and I found myself to be very flat. So I'm afraid of that, but maybe I should do more.
Don't take your writing so seriously. You're probably a better actor than a writer. And so when you're an actor and you get the script, you're like, yeah, it's okay. And then you make it better as an actor.
I'm getting it. Hey, thank you so much.
Thank you, man.
All right.
Keep going. Best of luck.
Great. Next question.
I don't know if
There's
people-
we can't see anybody in the shadows.
I see.
Here's somebody's emerging.
Hello, John
Say bye,
Klein.
man. Here we go.
Actually, I had a question because you were just talking before the gentleman here asked this question about you've sold a number of scripts.
Yes.
TV pilots, features, and things like that, which is obviously different from writing for yourself, which, from the standpoint of a lot of students here who are screenwriters who are wondering what that process is like. I mean, is it as simple as I'm going to send a spec script to a studio and hope that they like it? Are you going through an agent of some kind? What was your method? Because obviously every method is a little different for that, but I'm curious to hear your thoughts.
Well, I think that sometimes stuff comes to you as a director that's fully formed and, you know, is really great, but more often it's really great and it needs some work, so you're gonna give notes. And then you're gonna hope that the producers on it are strong enough to take it to studios and with your agent. We have agents and we have a manager who's been very integral to our life and brought us properties like Kong. She was the one who consolidated that. But I think when you have specs and you have stuff that you want to make yourself, it's about finding the money, you know, and so having representation helps, having a great producing partner helps, because then maybe the you know, where the fingers go of who you know who could make a movie with you, you know, expands. But there's a lot of answers to that. You know, it's about having a volume of pieces that you believe in, that you control. It's about having representation. It's very important to have representation because they have access to so many people that you don't. They can get you in rooms. They can get you to meet people who like you and maybe ask you to rewrite something, and then you'll hand them your script later, and then they'll want to get involved with you. It's all that kind of cross-collateralization. I don't know if that's the right word, but more than anything else, it's about having volume and being productive and, you know, being a self-generating artist. It's so difficult. You sit in a room by yourself. It's your own ideas. It's your own amount of time that you're going to spend doing it. It's very challenging. And so having a couple partners, having a producer to work with, having an agent or a manager, I think is going to really help broaden your abilities to do what you want to do.
And then do you, like, just to follow up, do you then springboard your ideas off of those people and they'll say, oh, this is sellable, this is something I can work with?
Jonathan does that more than I do. Talk about that.
Well, okay.
He does.
I don't. Yes, you have to make your stuff first. It's a chicken and an egg thing, right? You all want an agent. You have to have an agent unless you're prepared to make your short films and make your features or whatever and show them to yourself and your friends, and maybe somehow somebody sees it somehow, right? Be fantastic and discovers you in your garage making your movies. Otherwise, you're going to make the movies, and as I say, then, having put all the time and the energy and the effort and the money into it, you got to get it out there. Now, maybe an agent will go to Sundance and see your short and find you, and that'd be great. And you are going to send your short to every agency in town, and you're going to beat the streak. But that will happen. If you make your movies and you're talented, you will get an agent. They are looking for you. Everybody wants the next Colin Trevorrow. They all want you. God knows they want you to be talented and brilliant and self-generating. That's what they're looking for. Okay, now you've got your agent, right? You've all done it. Now you got an agent. So they're going to do one of two things. They're going to send you out, right? You can't stop working. They're going to send your short. I got this great kid. I got this young filmmaker from Chicago. You can't believe what she can do. This movie is amazing. And they will try to get you into rooms so that you can get the job to write and direct The Fly remake or whatever. Be the kid who made Slight for $250,000 and is now going to do The Fly. Fantastic story. Okay? The other thing that they're going to do is say, what do you got next? What's going on? And you're going to say, I got this spec script, right? Or I have an idea. Do you think you can sell it? Right. So the script that Stacy was just talking about that I actually wrote with a young writer, I had an idea, a nanny who's an assassin, right? Right? Because everybody in LA at a certain level has somebody working for them, working with them, taking care of their kids, gardening, whatever. This is just, there's a culture of, and maybe it's here in Chicago too, culture of immigration, legal or illegal, and these people are kind of invisible to their employers, and they all have extraordinary backstories. Who they escaped from someplace to come to be our gardeners, you know? And so the idea is that there's a nanny, a housekeeper in a Beverly Hills house who is a Honduran hit woman. Okay, it's a crazy idea, but it's also like, of course, that's a great idea. None of you can write it. It's mine. I'm on film saying it. If any one of you steals it, I'll kill you. It's too bad it's already in development with a company. Okay, so I wrote that story. It's a great idea.
But you ran it by him before you wrote it.
And I ran it by him. A female action movie, and he says, yeah, the casting is going to be a little heavy, right? I mean, now this is how they think, okay? Oh, yeah, so she got to be Hispanic, you know? Yeah, she's got to be Hispanic. That's what this... Okay, well, that means it's Salma Hayek or, so, you know. So, but he's trying to put it together because this is what they do. It ain't going to be Keanu Reeves. It's got to be one of 10 women.
And this season, you saw there's all these real life stories where even at the end you see the real people. Hidden Figures. Those are selling right now. It's
Right,
seasonal.
based on a true story.
And
but my
it
agent was able
evolves.
to say, yeah, I think so. Maybe, if you bring it, if I bring it
If
and write a
well
great script.
well executed is what he
Okay,
means.
which I hope I did, and we have now optioned it, and I'm doing the rewrite on that. Okay, with a bunch of crazy people, but that's another story. So that's maybe that's your question. Okay, so then you've sold it. Now what are you going to do? Because you got to deal with these people and their notes, and this is your baby, but you're taking their money happily because you're hoping they're going to put 15 or 20, 30, 40, 50 million dollars into the movie, and they say, not does it have to be a Hispanic girl, but you have to do this, that, or they have crazy ideas. So it's a process, and the bigger the money and the more people involved, the less precious you can be, right? And the more boilerplate the stuff that you're going to write is going to turn out to be, because people are afraid of investing anything. You guys know that. If I'm going to put my own money into a short, well, if $10,000 to everybody in this room, us included, is a lot of money. Am I going to put that much money into a short? I better make sure that it ain't just going to sit in the closet for the rest of my life. I want it to do something for me other than be a jerk off that felt really good. No, right? Okay, so if they're saying, I'm going to spend $10 million and I get 10 scripts every weekend, 100 scripts, 1,000 scripts, there's so many scripts you can't believe it. I'm going to pick this script and put my $10 million into it, because once you've spent the $10 million, you know how much it costs to put a movie in a theater, right? A minimum of $20 million. So that's $30 million that you are guaranteeing you're going to spend. They want to put their bet on something that they believe, Christ, Tom Hanks and Emma Watson best-selling novel, let's gamble on that.
And then it didn't do well. It was crazy.
It was a no-brainer that didn't work out. Okay. So that's a long way of saying, if it's your own work, you can do anything you want, be as creative and indulgent and happy as you want.
Having representation is a great thing.
And that will get you the representation, because they will see a voice, right? They will see a voice. Yeah. And when you're working for somebody else, maybe they want your voice, or maybe they want your voice to sound a little bit more like that voice that made a lot of money last weekend. Does that answer your question?
That's awesome. No, thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
Okay.
Next question.
Next victim.
Hey, you guys. Thank
Hi,
you.
Warren.
The movie is awesome. Thank you for
Thank you, pal. Thank you. Did anybody like the movie?
Yeah. Shut up.
No. Thank you. We didn't know. Okay. Thank you.
So I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about the art of the scare. So like jump scares, other types of scares, suspense.
Well, I think that it's about expectation and subverting expectation. There's two different things. Obviously, people do sound, and they pound sound to get you to jump. That's a very easy way to do it. You drop out sound, and then you pound it, and you don't even do the drop sound. Pound, like that. It makes everyone jumping. But there's also the fun thing of, I'm looking here, I look there, nothing there. I'm upset with that, and as soon as I come back this way, bam. It's the two directions. That really works very easily. There's also, I'm looking at something, I'm focusing there, and something comes here, so it's distance. So it's directional, it's distance, it's sound. There's a lot of tricks to it. You can watch them, and I think the best ones for me are the ones when people don't drop the sound out. It always is obvious to me that there's going to be a jump when it's really quiet. Go ahead.
Wait, can I jump in there? Because I was saying this in the green room. Like, one of my favorite moments of the movie is when Elliot walks into the living room and the bye-bye man is just in the background. And did you guys, me not have caught it, did you guys see that moment?
It's not obvious.
It's very subtle, but if you see it, it is the creepiest thing. And it's not a jump scare moment.
Right, no,
it's
I was
it's
just talking
there.
about jumps,
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
But just that there's other ways
and when the little
than
girl
the
walks,
obvious ones.
And when the little girl walks into the bedroom for the first time, the bye-bye man's briefly in the mirror. I don't know if people saw it.
And when the dog comes out of the other little door, like things like that, yeah.
Those are fun things that you find. I mean, those doors were at that house.
Wow.
It was supposed to
when
be.
Mr. Daisy was creeping around on the floor, did you see?
I don't know. STX wanted more jumps, so we had to construct more things to put in.
See.
And that was hard Because when you plan things, you know, obviously the Bible Man coming out of that bathrobe and him concretizing was planned in the script. But then how do I find another one? The one at the jewelry store was supposed to be very different. It was really just supposed to be Elliot turns around and they're in the street. I shot that. And then we constructed the thing where he was looking at John and Sasha getting in the car and he's jealous. And then there's that crack in that face. You know, that was constructed way after. It worked, but it wasn't my favorite because it felt like it was inserted too much. I like much better when the Bible Man's just there. He's starting to become concretized in the house like the one you liked.
You know, we tried to work with a company that was a company created by a very big director who started in horror and moved into studio stuff, Sam Raimi, right? And they were making horror movies for a while and ultimately unsuccessfully, I think. But when we brought them an idea, and I'm throwing everybody under the bus today, I don't mean to, but they had literally like a formula. They were like, you need 6 scenes of horror. You need 6 jump scares. You need, I'm making it up, but it was essentially, 5 moments of terror, which is different from horror, right? Terror is when you're scared. Horror is when you're horrified, okay? We need suspense, and we need dread, okay? So it became quite formulaic. That was their version of what would make a perfect horror movie, had all of these elements.
What was that one where the girl gets cursed? That was sort of their...
Drag Me to Hell,
that was their sort of template for that movie.
That was like their signature movie. So as a writer, and Stacy's talking as a director, but I did try to come up with. To me, there are 2 kinds of horror movies, right? There are funhouse horror movies, which are essentially roller coaster rides with booze and nobody really gets hurt. It's not really that scary because what it's about is not actually horrifying. And then there's human condition movies about the horrors of the human condition. What is genuinely scary to us, either individually or universally, and making a movie about that is, it's a dark thing to make a movie about. Are you really willing to go there? And yes, you want to make it as entertaining as you go, but what that movie is about is not about love, it's not about friendship, it's not about laughing, it's about the dark side. And most movies are not willing to really go there. And I think that we tried, and they tried to pull us back, maybe effectively, to make more jump scares, to make it more of a roller coaster ride.
I certainly love the shot of the Gloom Singer where you see the Bible Man put the eyeballs of Sasha and her tongue onto it and it gets absorbed into it.
Yeah, that was...
It was very cool, but they hated that shot.
Yeah, because it's so creepy and so uncanny and so
It was weird. I liked it.
All right.
Thank you.
Did we answer your question?
Yeah, totally. Awesome. Thanks.
You guys all right? It's late. It's Friday night.
Hi, I just want to say I really like the movie.
Thank you.
So you guys had talked about how you your short film kind of like skyrocketed your career. I was wondering like what your careers were before that and how you guys are like what your career is now. Is that what you intended? Is that what you wanted when you started?
I think that everyone continues to always. I feel like I haven't done enough. I feel like I've only directed 4 features, and I wish I'd done more. And I don't know if it's just because I'm a woman or opportunity or luck, and there's lots of different things. But I'm hoping to continue to work and just leave as much behind me as an artist as I can. In terms of what I did before, I was a journalist. I worked for a magazine called New York Woman, and I worked for a magazine called Harper's Bazaar. And I wrote all these long nonfiction things about like homeless people in New York or this crazy hospital, Bellevue. I did an oral history of Bellevue. And I started to realize that my imagination was more fun for me than the journalism, and that's kind of what launched me. I had also made short films as a kid, and my father was a commercial producer, and I got to watch Ridley Scott, Tony Scott, Michael Cimino as a kid, and really learned a lot from how they worked, and that made me even think about being a director when I was young.
Well, Well, I started as an actor. I mean, you know, when I was in my 20s, I pictured that I'd be the biggest movie star in the world and that I'd be making the biggest movies ever and, you know, would be somewhere between Clint Eastwood and Stanley Kubrick, right? Which is, or David Cronenberg. I mean, these are good dreams to have. So I'm not those people, but I have succeeded in doing everything I ever dreamt of, you know. I've starred on TV shows, I've starred in movies, I've made movies, I've written movies and TV shows. I've been married for 25 years. I have 2 extraordinary children. So I can, you know, in looking back, am I where I thought I would be? No, but who the fuck knows what the future's gonna hold? You know, when you're 25, you don't know what you're gonna be. And those guys were so talented and driven, you know, that maybe I was that talented, but I certainly wasn't that driven and wanted to have a more normal life, relatively. So I'm very happy, you know, with my life and my achievements, but am I where I thought I would be when I was 25 years old before I made that short? Yes. You know what? I guess I am. I mean, honestly, I thought I'd make movies and TV shows and have kids and a nice life. So I did that,
I wish
so.
I'd made more movies so far, but we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, you know, you can always complain, but the fact is we're doing great.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
I mean, that's the truth, right? You know,
It's so silly.
I'm not silly. That's true.
So this is going to be our last question. Sorry,
Oh,
guys.
shame.
No.
I'll try and make it a good one.
Yes. Please, no pressure.
Oh, I will answer.
Okay,
Yeah,
we'll
we're
get
gonna have
we'll
questions
I'll
from the
come find
ladies.
you
I want
after.
ladies' questions.
So great production design.
Thank you.
Say it with
Jen
diamonds.
Spence, she did a great job.
Great. Yeah, no, it's fantastic. I love the moment with Say It With Diamonds. Me and Ward both like.
Wasn't that brilliant?
We like-
That was Jen.
Okay, yeah. That was my question. Was whose decision was that?
The
and how'd
phrase
that
of
happen?
"say it," and her art director was amazing too. I think that they didn't know if I would go for it, and I loved it because it had that sort of Bye Bye Man, you know, phraseology in it, and that wasn't a diamond, that wasn't a jewelry store where you dressed it, and that was totally Jen. It really was.
Yeah, you hope that every person you
Brings-
hire for every
lifts your
job
game, you know?
makes the movie better and brings their creativity and their
and
brilliance.
everything she suggested I didn't like. She wanted to do red sheets on the beds, and I thought that was too over the top. Like, there are things that I pulled back, but she's a brilliant person, and Say It With Diamonds was all hers.
Yeah, I loved it.
And Jason Gardner, her art director, also did that awesome, you know, shower curtain where the guy's being filleted by the fish, you know, things like that. It was great.
Great.
Thanks.
So the 2 ladies with the questions, please stick around. I think they'll answer your questions.
You can, where we're getting thrown out of the
do
building.
you want to?
Sure.
We'll sit here. I mean,
Yeah,
people are still
Ladies,
sitting
go,
here.
go.
We don't suck, right? We're okay.
You can
We're
go
doing
if
all
you
right.
need to, but
Shut
who
up.
wants to go? What better thing are you gonna do? My crew's gonna kill me. I keep changing the cues on them. I'm gonna get yelled at on
Sorry, Matt.
Tuesday.
Are you ready? Yes.
So this business and pretty much every other business is a boys club, okay?
Correct, babe.
So my question for you, Stacy, is in this business, being a woman, what do you do when people tell you no? Where do you go? What do you
You
think?
have to just grin and bear it and have more of your own properties. You know, literally 4 movies recently, a guy got it over me, a guy got it over me, a guy
Sure.
got it over me, a guy I mean, it happens a lot. But those aren't scripts that I control. They're not scripts that I own. And really that's the key, is controlling properties, being attached to stuff, creating your own stuff. And then not having unconscious bias yourself. And reminding people that they have unconscious bias. I think it's a really important thing for people to realize that we are in a culture. I mean, if 4% of movies, released, studio movies are directed by women, and we're 51% of the population, what the f***?
Exactly.
So we've got to make changes. And how do we do it? We have the EOC is in a lawsuit right now and they're interviewing all the 6 studios. If they don't get a satisfying response from them, they're going to file a lawsuit. It's going to help all of you women here. I'm happy to say I was involved with the original complaint to the ACLU, and I'm doing it for everyone who follows me. I don't want it to be as hard as for you guys as it has been for me. A lot of women deserve to work, and it's going to knock some guys that aren't talented out, and that's a fact. But that's what's going to happen. So I say control your properties, own properties, write properties, and remind people all the time that they have unconscious bias.
Beautiful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Was there one more?
There's one other lady had a question.
That's
You
all
sure?
good?
I
That
want to
was-
hear your question. What is it?
Okay, she'll come up after. All right.
Okay.
So you guys have given a lot of amazing advice, both
hope
on
so.
the directing side, the writing side, the acting side, how to make a horror film, all these things. Is there one last sort of bit you want to leave these guys with in terms of advice?
Yes, I think anytime you have an idea in the zeitgeist, someone else has it too. So don't wait, write it, finish it. I feel like there's a weird thing. You have a great, brilliant idea, don't put it aside, get it done, because I don't know what it is, but I do believe that there's something about the zeitgeist that I don't want anyone to beat you to it.
Great.
Yeah, it's a really hard business, right? It's really hard. What you guys are going to attempt to do is very, very difficult. So make sure that that's really what you want to do. And I don't mean this as a downer. I don't know any of you individually to say you and not you. I'm saying it's going to be hard. It ain't just landscaping trees, you know? It's
That's not easy.
It's that's what came to me as being easier. This is hard.
Like, is it-
That said, the only people who do it and stay in it love it and have to do it. So you will know if you have to do it or not. And I urge you, if you want to do this, then you must create nonstop. You must put yourself out. This is an artist's life that you are setting yourselves up for. This is maybe a craft, maybe a business, maybe not. It is an artist's existence. And if you are ready for that, to be self-generated, self-motivated, and create stuff that has never been seen before, then you have a shot at doing it. And if you're willing to do that, doesn't matter if anybody pays you or not, because that's what you've decided to do because you must do it. If you mustn't do it, or there's not that part of you that's saying, I must do that, I would urge you to consider something else.
And the other thing is,
Honestly.
last thing, I'm sorry to interrupt you, is that Bye Bye Men had 50-50 male-female speaking roles, 50-50 male-female extras, 20% ethnic minority speaking roles, 20% ethnic minority as extras. I worked really hard to just make sure that there was a reflection of the universe in this movie, and it's not hard to do. So anytime you're not doing a jail thing of Czechoslovakia in 1930 and it has to be all white guys, try to make it as diverse as you can and as female-male as you can, because you are in control of that and you can change the narrative.
Great. All right.
The end.
The end.